Hi, I'm Jordan Shapiro.
And I'm Laura Higgins.
And we're here to tell you all about the Into the Digital Future podcast. So, Laura, let's tell them why we made it. I mean, for one of the reason we made it is because everyone has to make a podcast today, right? You have to.
You don't exist if you haven't made a podcast. It's how you get people to hear all of your very important opinions on things.
Yeah. Well, what we really did, it's really other people's opinions more than ours in this one.
Absolutely. So I work for Roblox.
Wait a second, you're calling them opinions? These are like super educated academics. These aren't just opinions. These are facts.
There is a mixture of fact, opinion, and some very thoughtful and very entertaining conversations.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I work for Roblox, and I've had the pleasure of working with you, Jordan, now for quite a few years. And we started talking about some of these really big topics. And we kind of thought we really wanted to collaborate on something together and sort of chew the fat on some of these issues. Collectively, we know a lot of people in the space of both games design and academia and education. And so we just thought it would be really interesting to get them all in for conversations on some of these big topics, see what their thoughts were, hopefully some things that are going to be both interesting, thought-provoking, some tips that people might take away. And yeah, we're really proud of it. We've got this really diverse range of people coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think a lot of what families hear about digital play, about digital media, about what it means to live in a connected world, most of what's out there. I know we talked about this when we first started. Most of what's out there is either fear mongering, right, or playthrough videos. Sometimes it's a little bit better, but we didn't feel like there was anyone who was really saying, "Hey, let's bring in the experts and just have the conversation the way the experts have the conversation." You can find a million podcasts where someone go, "Oh, we heard Facebook is terrible for teens," and then they bring in Jenny Radesky, who we have to talk about the facts. But we didn't even want to start with the, "Hey, this is terrible." We just wanted to go, what are the kind of conversations that people like you and me who work in digital media, who work in thinking about children's development and children's well-being in digital media, what are the conversations that we have when we all meet for dinners or drinks or those kinds of things? And so that's what I really wanted to bring people. And I think we did it. We should talk a bit about what was going on when we first started.
So I mean, to your point, absolutely. We're very lucky that we know some of these incredibly smart people who really are kind of sort of changing the world with some of these things that they're working on. So it's been really interesting to hear some of those really helpful initiatives, as you say, just to reassure parents, and also quite inspirational, some of them. So, we hope that this is really going to appeal to a very broad audience. But as you say, we started this when the world seemed fairly normal, and then a pandemic happened. And so whilst we'd kind of started this process and we'd recorded, I think, our first couple, and then the world just totally changed. Everything went upside down. Kids were at home, homeschooling, which then changed those conversations about traditional education. That big scary conversation about screen time. Wow, that changed through that period, not just for young people, but actually for adults as well. And some of that I think is really positive, in that definitely the conversation changed about what do we mean when we talk about screen time, because now that's all we have, because we're not allowed to leave our homes. So yeah, it was really interesting. And actually, when we look back on this in years to come, I think we've actually documented a really interesting time in kind of online safety and young people's experience of the digital world.
I completely agree, and I think what's interesting is that even though some of these conversations are about a year old, I feel like it was a year ago when we first, a year between recording them and now releasing them into the podcast. What do we call it? The podcast universe, the podcastosphere. I don't know.
Into the metaverse.
Into the metaverse, right? Whatever we call it. It's been about a year, but I really don't think much has changed. I think there's been a few scandals, some social media scandals, some video scandals, some, there's always scandals to get upset about. But I think what we tried to do in everything we did here was to get to the core essential issues that will affect everyone as long as there are still screens in our pockets, which I think is probably for a very, very long time. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. So
absolutely not. And I think, the breadth of the kind of conversations we've had as you say, that they're evergreen conversations, but we also wanted to get.
I mean, we should
all
say
of
a
those
bit about,
different.
can I just say a bit about what some of those conversations are? Like,
Yeah.
like we have one, I'm not going to use any of their names so to keep it as a surprise, but I'll just say, like, we have a conversation with someone who's been in children's media for decades. So talks about the change from television to digital and the different things we worry about. We have someone from the Anti-Defamation League to talk all about hate speech online, just in case anyone thinks we're going to be all like super positive. We're perfectly happy to talk about where there really is bullying, but not as long as we don't also include the fear that social media equals bullying. We have a Black feminist on here to give us a deep perspective on representation in the media.
And one of my personal favorites, we've got a young developer from Roblox.
Yeah, that's right.
And a content creator. And that's one of my favorite conversations. I'm sure everyone's going to find that hilarious, and it's a very touching story about why this creativity in these online spaces, why they're so important for young people, and also the amazing opportunities that they bring, So yeah. I think, as you say, we've got a diverse. We've
got some people from some of the big famous internet companies that I don't know if we're even allowed to say that they were speaking, but just in case you're wondering, there are some people here who work on very high levels at Google or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. I can't tell you where, but it's there.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. If we're going to talk about this, we need that range of voices. It's really important, for people to hear every side of it.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about echo chambers and things. And I think, if you work in academia, you tend to hear those kind of voices. If you work in the tech industry, you tend to hear those. And so for us to bring this out, for other people to join in a little bit of our world and hear what people are working on and what's really driving some of these decisions that are being made in companies and in charities, it's really important that you hear all of those different voices so that you can get a much broader picture of, all of the efforts people are making to try to improve the online world.
Yeah. Well, then the last thing I'm going to just say is I recommend that people put on their headphones or their ear plug pod, whatever, AirPod, earbuds, whatever you're going to use. Get on your treadmill or your bike or your walk or your nothing or, whatever you do while you listen to podcasts. Now's the time. Listen to it, enjoy it, and please let us know what you think. Reach out to us on social media, send us emails. All the information is, I don't know if it's really below, but I always like when YouTubers do that. So I'm going to be like, YouTube below, right? And please
sign up below.
Yes. And please like and share and use this during your daily commute and all of those things that people say all the time, because the more people who hear this, the better it is for all of the children. I'm going to do it like that.
Subscribe and like.
It's good for the children.
And hopefully it's pretty good for the adults too.
All right. Enjoy, everybody.
Thanks. Enjoy it.